Warm welcome, good morning here in Rotterdam. We are here at the Active House Symposium 2022. Who of you already planned to go in 2020? Yeah, a few people here. It got postponed a little bit, so I'm happy that you're all here in real life. My name is Peter Melis, and I'm going to do my best to host you throughout the day, that I make sure that we get the time schedule right and that we get some interaction. To start with, we've got an international audience, if I'm correct. So let's raise your hand if you're in the category of being less than 10 kilometers from your house. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Jette. I'm from Denmark.
But you're less than 10 kilometers from your house.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes.
I already feel very much at home.
That's good. Good morning. You had a coffee, perhaps, but I'm not sure. Who is more less than 10 kilometers from your home? We've gone over there. Yeah. So one person less than 10 kilometers, the only one. Less than 100 kilometers. Yeah. What's your name? Where are you from?
Jurie van Bergen from Eindhoven.
Eindhoven, place in the south of the Netherlands. More hands? You raised your hands as well?
Yeah, Sebastian from The Hague.
The Hague, not far from here. All right, we move it up a little bit. We go to less than, or between 100 and 500 kilometers. Oh yes, we've got here. What's your name?
Kaya,
And where are you from?
Zwolle.
Zwolle. Oh, that's still in the Netherlands. Okay. Some other people between 100 and 500. Yeah, I move to you. It's good for my stamina. Okay, here we go. What's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm from Brussels.
From Brussels. Nice. Welcome. Warm welcome. We move it up a little bit more. 500 to 1,000. What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Leon Krasko and I'm from Norwich.
From?
Norwich in the UK.
In the UK. Perfect. Norwich. My topography is not that well, but UK, that's perfect. And you raise your hand as well, if I'm correct?
I'm Carsten Rood. I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark.
Copenhagen, Denmark. Warm welcome. International audience. And the last category, more than, we were at 500, right? Or 1,000? More than 1,000. Wow. We move here.
Ukraine.
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 Your name is?
My name is Alexander Kucherava, Active House Ukraine.
Alexander Kucheravi, warm welcome. Could you share a little bit, you're from Ukraine, that raises a lot of questions. Please share, how is your journey the last few weeks, so to say? Maybe stand up, yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I will not explain my journey because it was rather difficult, because I woke up from explosions in Kiev in 21st of February. But I would like to grateful to all of you, to Europe. I saw how you support Ukrainians. When I cross borders, cross countries, I saw how you're open-hearted, how civil society can help us immediately. Not about some resolutions, some prescriptions, anything else, but you, for example, in Budapest on the railway station, of course, I see volunteers and everything for us, but I see common people with a list of paper, how can I help? And thank you so much. Don't worry, Ukraine will win, no doubts, but we need just the time. For this reason, I just to suggestion or asking for you, if you have an opportunity, it's my asking to professional society, if you have an opportunity to give a job to Ukrainians, to architects, we have some our own projects with Alliance and Active House Academy. We can give you very high level professionals for this period. Don't worry, we will back to Ukraine in any case, because if today, if you ask Ukrainians, they wanted to back Ukraine every time, because we left our heart and soul in Ukraine. It's true. And one more.
If, Alexander, if someone has a job opportunity or a possibility, they could get to you today?
Yes.
That's the easiest?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And one second thing you wanted to add?
Second, please, I know that you receive a lot of different information from mass media, and it's different, but please fight against Russian propaganda. It's the most evil today, because I receive my information not from mass media and from different sources from Russia, Ukraine, or anything else. I receive this information from my friends, from different cities in Ukraine. And now I perfectly know how it's going on. And it's not It's really a disaster today, but we hope that in any case, we will win. And it's sorry, I'm really starting nervous for this reason.
It's okay.
It's yes.
It's okay.
I have a small, nice movie for you at 3 o'clock during Active House Awards ceremony. So you will see a bit more and better about Ukraine.
Thank you very much. It's a bit weird, I don't know if you feel it as well, to stand here together and then know as well that that's going on, right? But let's make the best of it since we are here together today for this Active House Symposium. Maybe you're wondering what a weird t-shirt I'm wearing. It's a reminder for the day to keep the human in mind. It was the only t-shirt I could find with a face on it. So when you look at the program, it's about how can we renovate in a circular and affordable manner with health, comfort, and the resident in mind. And I would like to make the suggestion to keep this as or you can change the face if you want, but just keep a resident in mind that's your favorite resident throughout this day, and listen to the different stories, the different perspectives from this resident perspective. That's something that's nice, I think, to have throughout this day. What's let's say, the program of today? How will it look like? Let's go to the program just briefly. You can find it in your brochure as well. But we have a mix between plenary program here in this location, and we have breakout sessions. So throughout the day will be a mix. In the morning a little bit more here, in the afternoon a little bit more of breakout sessions. Really top-notch speakers, so we really go into depth in a lot of variety. And at the end of the day, of course, we have a day closing at the foyer where you just had a coffee or a tea. We will have drinks and also the day closing. All good to go? If you're active online, I see some mobile phones out there. Please use the hashtag ActiveHouse2022 so we can stir some movement online as well. And speaking of online, there are people watching through a live stream as well at the moment. So a warm welcome for those people as well. And there is the possibility for people to later on watch it to go through the program of the day. All right. I would like to invite on stage two persons who are, let's say, the national chair of Active House the Netherlands and the international general secretary. It's Bas Hasselaar from the Netherlands and Loon Vijver from Denmark. Good morning.
Good morning.
How is it to be here in this setting with a real symposium, real life? I'll just stand a little bit to the front, that's fine, Lone, yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're a bit far away already. How is it to be here?
It's refreshing to shake hands with people. I had forgotten, if you go to a symposium, that you continuously bump into people that you know, faces you've seen a while back or recent, and just talking and seeing and hearing and sensing rather than looking at a screen. It's wonderful.
It's good.
Yes.
Nice. Let's start with the basics. An active house. There might be some common understanding, but for some people it might be, what is an active house? Just briefly, what is it?
Active House, if you ask a person who hasn't heard of Active House yet, they assume it's a house. Originally, maybe 10 years ago, it started out that way, but by now we have museums, we have public schools, we have kindergartens, we have office buildings, there's a whole variety of buildings. And Active House stands for a vision where, centered around the user, we have comfort, we have energy performance, and also the environmental performance all integrated into one. So it's not separate aspects that you pile onto one another. You look at it holistically.
It's a holistic approach. Later on in a sub-session, in a breakout session, you will go really in depth on it.
Oh, yes.
But for now, I think we leave it here. But just about the Alliance, Lone, you are the International General Secretary. What is the Active House Alliance?
I'm General Secretary until today included. Yes?
Okay.
Yeah. After 5 years.
So is there a vacancy, or how does it work?
Actually, there is a new General Secretary, which is from the Secretariat, Nadesh. She's coming.
She's
Here
waving.
She is. Yes.
Nadesh over there.
Yes. I've handed over, I put down my position after 5 years. I was following Kurt Emil Eriksen, who was the founding general secretary along with the founding partners. And we just had 10 years anniversary last year.
And what is
We
the alliance?
celebrated.
What is the Active House Alliance?
Originally, it was formed on the basis of, I would say, like-minded kindred spirits. Back in 2008 and 9, I remember being part of a round table, actually held in the restaurant Noma in Copenhagen before it got 2 Michelin stars.
Wow.
That's a sort of a defining moment. That's where Active House started. But in a way, it was very much the same thinking that is behind Noma is a Michelin restaurant, but it is also everyday food. You should think about what there is where you live, where you are. Use what there is close to your position, and make it make sense, whether it's building or whether it's food. And it's an approach to sustainability, which these people were sharing. Bas just explained very in depth and beautifully what the Active House is, but the 3 principles that were agreed upon in 2011 was the foundation of the actual alliance, was the comfort, the energy, and the environment.
Comfort, energy, environment. That are the
3 things, yeah. We can all remember that, and if you cannot remember exactly the points, what is it inside the principles, I usually explain it. You have to explain it sometimes like you would to your grandma. Einstein said, if you cannot explain it to your grandma, you have not understood it yourself, and that was Einstein. So interesting.
It's
Technique.
technique.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
get back to that later today. Yeah.
The energy is the one leg that you need, any building to walk on. The environment is the other leg. And the comfort are the senses. So it's daylight, it's the eyes, it's thermal comfort, it's the skin, it's air quality, it's your lungs, it's acoustics, it's your ears.
That's nice.
Anybody can understand that.
Yeah.
And we think, even though there's a lot of rocket science actually that you work with in buildings, and many of the 15 universities we have as members.
50 or 15?
15, 1-5. No, sorry, 1-7, I think actually.
17. Okay.
We just
yeah,
had
it's easy.
Japan and Australia and Brazil also joining. But they work with it, of course, in depth. And buildings are in many ways rocket science, but it is also something that is used every day by all of us. It matters to all of us. So that was the idea of the alliance, that we need to make, so to say, the transition of the connection with buildings from the professional society to everyday people, and remember the person on your T-shirt.
We can give him a name. What would you think is a good name?
Active Anders, maybe? I'm Danish.
What's the name?
What is a good Andri is a good
André.
Dutch name. Active Andri.
Active Andre. Okay, so we refer to Andre today if we are to the end user. Okay.
Oh, hang
so
on. No,
you-
it's a girl, of course. Sorry. It has to be a woman.
Yeah. Okay. So
a
we
Dutch,
changed the name.
a
Andrea.
Dutch women name who?
Andrea.
Andrea.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Just you mentioned universities. So universities are a member of the alliance. What other types of organizations, businesses? How does it work?
Well, it's actually the whole value chain, like we call it in the building industry. So it's everything that all the people involved, all the companies involved in creating a building. So it is universities that create the research, which is the foundation we need to stand on. Then it is architects, designers, engineers, like Bas, knowledge institutions also, and then component producers.
Okay. So it's a wide variety of different. Yeah.
Everything you need to establish a building.
And Bas, you're the chair of the Netherlands. Why do you think? What do you hear? Why people become, or why organizations become a member?
There's a difference between international and national. The bonus or the upside of having a national alliance is that you can focus more on national issues. Countries differ. And well, Active House is sort of at the forefront of building the quality that we aim to achieve. And as a member, you also, of course, can associate yourself with the vision of Active House. There are many projects where the Active House partners find themselves. We share knowledge. There are some examples in this room that will probably be shared later.
So it's a knowledge platform, so to say. You share
Yes,
vision.
In the Netherlands, we have also recently decided, so to speak, to have a lot of emphasis also on renovation, because in the Netherlands there's a huge renovation question, and the housing corporations will need to upgrade their housing stock, and if they focus only on improving the energy label, there is a risk that some other aspects might be forgotten, such as the user.
Yeah.
And having the active house as a vision might help create better buildings compared to if they hadn't.
Yeah. It's good that you mentioned renovation, because that's also the focus of today, right? So we focus on renovation in a circular and affordable manner.
Yes. Also, yes.
And you mentioned a little bit about why people become a member. What kind of activities? This is a symposium you organize. What other activities, things are there for members?
We have many activities, but if I should point towards 3, 3 is always a good number. The symposium is very important because that's where we get together, where we meet each other, forming the second important activity, the network of the partners. Building industry is quite a conservative and quite patient industry. So the people you meet here today, you will also meet probably in 10 years. It is not an industry where people sort of come in and out very quickly. But the symposium is also where we say, okay, so where are we? What is the most important agenda, which is renovation, obviously. And how can we push that? So taking the temperature of the sustainable buildings. And the third most important activity that I'd also like to mention is our awards. Because we celebrate the projects from all over the world. And how many projects did we look at this year, Mr. President of the jury? How many?
Many projects. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Selected 45, 49, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is very important to look at the projects. And if you ask how many projects we have globally, I'm sorry, but we didn't count. So we cannot say that. But there are very, very many that we see at the awards, and which also describes the development from year to year.
Yeah.
Can I mention one additional aspect of the alliance?
Yeah, sure. And here we see also some members. We mentioned some parties, so it's also maybe good to have an idea of what kind of parties are involved.
Great.
Yeah, one short note.
The most important thing to observe is that it is it's an association and it's a non-for-profit.
Okay.
So it is not commercially, even though there are commercial partners, but there is and they pay memberships, but that is the secretariat running. But it is a non-for-profit, so it's not like DGNB or BREEAM or LEED, which are commercial systems. We are not.
That's a good addition.
Yeah.
Bas, later today you will share something also about more in depth about the radar tool.
Yes.
That raises the question. You mentioned BREEAM and the other one?
BREEAM, LEED, DGNB. There's several.
You also have a label within the Active House Alliance, right? How does?
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about it?
Yes, if maybe there's some pictures that are not directly related to your questions, but they will maybe click through some. If you, yes, this is, for example, this is an Active House radar, and on an Active House radar you can. I'm just going to stand here a little bit so I can see the slides. If you click to the next one, an Active House radar describes the or showcases the actual performance of a building, and these are not random numbers. These are all linked to quantitative numbers. So we have indoor climate, which is made up of daylight and acoustics and thermal and air quality. We have energy and also the environmental performance, and these are all hard numbers that are described in the Active House specifications. And if you calculate the performance of your building and have those calculations verified by a formal official verifier, you can have an Active House label. And I have a few examples here. This is, you get one of these. This is sort of your trophy. You can put it on your door or on your wall. And you will also go into the database of Active House, where it shows which buildings around the world have a formal label. Yes.
Just to check, please raise your hand if you have worked with this label already. So we've got a little bit of a feel. Raise one hand there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kind of like six, 7 people. Yeah, nice. Good experience. Just to check.
Yes, certainly.
Yes, sir, the microphone is not working, but it was a good experience, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, nice. More in depth about it later in your breakout session?
Yes, session B will be all about this label.
Okay, perfect. To close it off here for now, the new Bauhaus initiative.
Yes.
The new energy, sorry, I pronounced it, the new European Bauhaus initiative. Sorry for that. Can you share a little bit about it? We're going to move really in depth into that in a moment.
We will. There is a slide a little bit further. Actually, a couple of slides. This is our symposium in the Green Solution House, the award, 10 years
Denmark.
award. And the next one is from our last symposium. Next one. This one is from our last symposium in Toronto. That's 2.5 years ago, so it's really good to be able to meet up again. And there's a couple of projects, and then the Active House Alliance is happy to be an official partner of the new European Bauhaus, which is an incredibly interesting movement started by the first female president of the EU. I just mentioned that it's female because I think it's a point on its own. About how we can make and create a movement towards a more beautiful, sustainable society where we see ourselves together. But I will. The next speaker is coming back to that. From our perspective, apart from seeing this movement as something incredibly important, even aggravated by COVID crisis and also by the war now. Orchestrating the ecosystem of buildings is incredibly important, and the Alliance is doing it on national basis through the alliances and also on international basis. And buildings are the biggest asset management in the world. So the most money placed in one industry is in buildings.
Okay.
I took the number, $6 trillion. I cannot relate to the number. But we just have to understand how important it is that we focus on that, including people.
Perfect.
Andy and Andrea.
Yeah, perfect, Andrea, that's it. All right, thanks a lot, Lone and Bas, for now. Thank you. The new European Bauhaus initiative, it was mentioned. Who has already heard of it before today? Please raise your hands. 2, 3, 4, it's about 10, 15 maybe. Okay, that's good that you're here. The next speaker is born and raised in Bulgaria. Her name is Borislava Woodford. She spent a decade in tax and legal departments, both in PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers and Ernst & Young. After that, she got to know the Brussels money jungle. What does that mean? She knows how to find her way to EU money, especially focused on regional and urban development. In 2020, she joined the new European Bauhaus initiative as a policy analyst, and indeed under auspicion of Ursula von der Leyen. It is Borislava Woodford. Warm welcome.
Peter, thank you. Oh my God, it's so exciting to get on a stage and see people in real, and it's also very, very stressful. So forgive me, but I'm here to introduce the initiative, if you give me the floor, and I'm here to also answer questions. During the day, I'll have my own stand, so if you don't feel comfortable to raise your hand, ask me something now. You will have the occasion. I'm there throughout the day.
Perfect. We saw 15 hands raised, so it's good that you're here because the rest of the people need to know about the new European Bauhaus initiative. Do you want a glass of water while you have some?
No, I'll
not
be
needed?
fine.
Okay. You've got 20 minutes.
Yes, can I have the slide?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm walking away with, I thought I forgot something. That's this. For me, it's also a little bit, you know, wennen, how do you say that? Get accustomed again.
So yes, good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you in person today. My name is Borislava Woodford. I am from the Joint Research Center of Brussels. It's part of the European Commission, and we've been given the pleasure, opportunity and challenge to develop the European Bauhaus initiative from an idea. It really started as an idea, which was mentioned in the State of the Union address by President von der Leyen in September 2020. So we formed a small team around January of last year, and we're trying to create a movement, as Lone said, inspired obviously by the old Bauhaus movement that originated in Germany about 100 years ago. Obviously now it's a different thing because the challenges are completely different, what Europe and global challenges have moved on. and we have an urgent need to look after our planet. But we are also looking into spinning it into more cultural, artsy type movement, not so much focusing on green and on, obviously it is under the framework of the European Green Deal of the Commission, but we want to make it a bit more humane, people-centered, linked to arts education as well. So it is a movement or an initiative that combines sustainability, but also inclusion, but also we're talking about affordability, investment. Investment is very important as well. And I'll go into depth. I have several slides for you. If you bear with me, you get to know a little bit more. But obviously, we're looking into holistic solutions and into a transversal way. It is linked to several packages that Commission and President have recently introduced. They are linked to, they are called the Renovation Wave, if you've not heard of it. And also a Fit for 55 European package, which is all about Green Deal. And let's just to give you an idea how this was all developed. It's a bottom-up approach, a unique project. We opened in January last year, so that's 2021, a website, and we wanted people to contribute with ideas, project papers, academic proposals, etc., to tell us how to develop this initiative. We closed it on June 30th. We had 6 months of incredible response. People were in lockdowns, obviously, so people were happy to put stuff on the website, from individuals to really high-level people. We had over 2,000 contributions. We were given the months of July and August to make sense of all of that. And that's what we did. In September, I'll mention, we had another mention by President von der Leyen. She called us the soul of the Green Deal, which was very nice. But also, we were asked to produce a full-blown policy paper, which we issued in mid-September. Then we started working with some experts. Right now, we launched and closed the new European Bauhaus edition, #2 of the awards. We also have prizes. We're working on several projects. I will elaborate on them. And in the meantime, there's lots of financial calls, so calls for grants and different types of offers for financial support for our projects are ongoing, open or closed, or will be open soon. And we also, in the beginning, we're thinking, how do we get people to know about us? How do we involve the public? And we perhaps should talk to some architects, designers, artists that are famous. And so we constituted a group of 18 individuals. They are our high-level roundtable representatives. Of course, they come from that type of professions like architecture, design, art, but we also have business entrepreneurs. We have a couple of people from outside Europe. Perhaps you know Shigeru Ban, the Japanese artist. He is currently very active and creating paper partitions in some refugees halls in Poland and in Paris, very active on the Ukrainian refugee side. We also have Sheila Patel. She says, I'm from the Global South. She's an Indian activist. And I've put your Dutch representative, Timo. Timo is a young guy, biologist, ecologist, and he is a founding director of Ondermeer School. So just that you know, if you want to link somehow to him, he's available. We always give contact details of our high-level round table representatives. They come and talk to President von der Leyen twice a year, which is quite something, because it's exciting to meet the president, but she also uses them as a sounding board, so they tell her, oh, you're going in the right direction, or oh la la, you've forgotten climate, or etc., etc. And we had managed to create a very vibrant community of official partners. So Active House Alliance were among the first to join, but you will see that we have 100 or transnational, very big entities in Europe and outside Europe. But we have some very, very small partners as well, NGOs. They are from all member states and beyond. You could see the research and education, architecture, design, arts and culture, the most represented sectors at the bottom. But we have also youth, landscape architecture, circular economy, environment and energy, of course, inclusion, innovation. So it is really growing. These partners are not for profit, and they cannot be politically linked. So that was the decision at the time, to just accept not-for-profit entities, but we recently opened another call, I'll mention it, for businesses, so maybe that would be more interesting for you. Follow us if you want to know what's going on the initiative. You can always type in European Bauhaus in the website, look out for the original one. We have had an incredible amount of people joining, and they are subscribers to our newsletter. You can just put your email there as an individual. You can follow us on Instagram. Our website is hit constantly, and Twitter, etc. So communication-wise, we're doing very well, because we obviously link to, we are under the auspices of Madame von der Leyen, and we have 2 other commissioners who administer the initiative. They're the Portuguese commissioner, Madame Ferreira, who looks after regional and urban policy, and Maria Gabriel, Bulgarian commissioner, who is the one for research and innovation, education and culture. So a little bit more into what we actually do. I mentioned the second edition of our prizes. We had 4 categories. Of course, we were looking for sustainable, inclusive, aesthetic projects, but not just building some. So the categories are very, very broad. The call closed. We had received, if I remember well, over 1,100 applications. Last year, the edition was so popular that we had to deal with 2,090 applications. We're currently evaluating them. And they are really based on what we produced last year. We have 2 strands. We kept the 2 strands. These are the old winners, but not just the winners. You can type European Bauhaus Prizes 2021 and filter through country, and you will see what kind of projects actually submitted applications from your own member state. The winners' virtual exhibition is still there. You see some nice pictures. But what's important here is the 2 strands that we kept. The new European Bauhaus Awards are really for projects that are already completed, while the new European Bauhaus Rising Stars are for concepts and ideas by very young people. You need to be under 30 to be able to qualify for that strand. So the prizes resonate very well with young people, and we've been bombarded with applications. Obviously, we give money away, so that is a real opportunity. Unfortunately, it's too late for the call closed, but we'll have a new edition next year. These are the financial, what we call calls, but these are opportunities. You'll see, of course, Horizon Europe, if you're familiar with it. It's very much involved, but we also have technical assistance from the European Regional Development Fund that opened recently to propose capacity building offers. We have creative innovation lab, social economy type of financing from the European Investment, European Institute of Technology as well. So if you're interested in calls and to know a little bit more the nitty-gritty of what's open, what's closed, find me at the stand. I'm sure this is a popular topic, so people always ask me for money. I will try to help you. And this is the boring bit, the paper which we were asked to produce. It's a 16-page document. It was agreed by 27 commissioners of how this movement, initiative, etc., will evolve and where we should concentrate. Of course, the principles resonate very much with your symposium and the way Active House Alliance International work on a participatory, transdisciplinary approach, looking after green, sustainable inclusion together, and also what's Lone called comfort is probably linked to beautiful. Our beautiful. Beautiful doesn't necessarily mean aesthetically pleasing to the eye only, but also how you feel about a place, the emotions of you living in a place or in between buildings, in the building, etc. Do you feel safe? Do you feel healthy? How the quality of experience is more important for us. under beautiful than really aesthetics. And so the thematic axis, people asked us to concentrate on reconnecting with nature. It's obvious because we were in lockdown, so everyone was longing to go for a walk in a park and to have a park. They want us to concentrate on regaining a sense of community, belonging. Then we should prioritize the places and people that need it most. And the fourth one is probably more relevant for you. It's all about circular economy. So we have the ambition to try to change mindsets and rethink industrial ecosystem. Very ambitious project. We have to somehow deliver with impact on 3 levels. I've put the bit on green. In green, transforming places on the ground. This is really about the built environment. But we also, as I said, have the ambition to challenge the ecosystem for innovation. And it is important for us to not forget education and culture. So what we're doing now is we've set up the policy context, we're mobilizing EU funds, and we're calling on member states to also find funds through shared management, but not only, so private investment. And I put a couple of slides for the construction ecosystem because it's probably relevant for the symposium. The European Commission recently, on 30th of March, announced that Europe has plans to revise the construction products regulation. So you see, you know these statistics, how many people are employed in construction, how much added value it has, gross added value, turnover, etc. Construction products industry is very important, and the regulation is outdated. It dates back to 2011. And what we would try to do is make it greener, safer. Again, requirements will probably increase, have improved digital information for citizens so that they're aware of what they're buying in materials and not only. It will be with harmonized standards of performance and rules to facilitate business models such as 3D printing, so a bit of innovation. And this is in the making. I have more precise information for those of you who want to know more, but I'm not an expert there. So demonstrators is these visible things we need to produce, tangible project places on the ground. Obviously, we had a very big call for what we call lighthouse demonstrators. 5 or 6 beautiful projects will showcase. They're in the process of being evaluated. We had 41 applications. Capacity building of the authorities who run and produce project pipelines is of importance for us. We are developing a financial instrument, so it's a model off-the-shelf financial instrument, how entities and public entities often can combine public with private investment for purposes of transformative projects under the auspices of European Bauhaus Initiative. We look to support mainly small-scale projects, grassroots projects where European funds don't reach easily. When the stakeholders are so small an entity that they can't find their way through the jungle of applications, etc., etc. Commission is trying to reduce its own building block, so Commission is walking the talk. And we are working on a seal of excellence and labeling, which is something that the label was mentioned by the people before on stage, and there will be a dedicated session to it. It's a very difficult exercise. Recently, on April 7th, we launched a collaborative space. It's really it's not a physical space, but it's where we meet in the community. So partners, high-level roundtables, and people who wish to incubate and prepare bankable projects. We have community-led, but also commission-led projects. I have some slides for you to try to understand what we're doing. So this is like a bit of a laboratory, a nursery for projects, ideas that should gain interest from several partners and who can actually become fundable. And there at the top you see friends. We open a call for friends. So that means that businesses can enter as hosts and sponsors this community. More questions on it, I'm happy to answer. We're working on our own labeling strategies, very difficult definitions, what constitutes a Bauhaus-type project. We're working on figuring out barriers to, in the regulation to the built environment. So you can share your own experience there. The call is open until 30th. We're looking to collect and connect projects that are for education and link people from across Europe with similar ideas. This is a project from Australia, really, and they put a very nice application. I am personally involved in a couple of pilots looking to find innovative funding for smaller scale projects. So I'm concentrating on philanthropy and on crowdfunding. They're very exciting projects and trying to figure out ways of funding smaller entities. If we can find a model, that would be great. These are the ongoing projects by partners. They have got together. The Scandinavians, of course, have developed the so-called European Bauhaus of the Nordics. The Nordic Council of Ministers for Sustainable Cities are very active on topics, circular and healthy living. We have several cities around the sea in Spain, Greece, Italy and Portugal. They have their own common challenges. They're port cities. And we also have a European Bauhaus of the mountains in Bolzano, in South Tyrol. People got together bringing ideas and projects together. These are the calls that are currently open. Don't miss this one. It is for small type of municipalities with less than 100,000 inhabitants, open until May 23rd. And we have a couple of business calls organized by the European Institute of Technology, and they are for private and public legal entities, but not for consortia. It is about proposals for citizen engagement, and this one is for consortia as well. So don't miss the deadlines. They are open on our website. They will take you to the link that will ask you to put your proposal. This is all grants. And then, this is my last slide, Peter. I will try to make it within 1 minute. The festival, 4 days of fun, forum and fair. We would wish it to be not just in Brussels, in the European bubble, but we open a call for satellite events. So the forum will have, obviously, the debates, the exchanges, the personalities who are invited to Brussels to talk about the initiative, about current challenges, but we would wish to have a bit of fair co-designing projects, but also showcasing best type of projects or prototype, as long as they're linked to the initiatives, pillars, sustainability, inclusion and aesthetics. And the first bit is the one where we would wish to have celebrations and some getting together of different cultures, not only in Brussels. So if you're interested with an event, it is open until another week or so for your satellite event. So go on our website and make a description of what you wish to do, and we'll see if we can meet you or reach you and or co-design it and coordinate it. So that's me. Follow us, especially on Instagram or on our website. If you just want to receive our monthly newsletter, you can put your email there. And I've made it exactly on time.
If you can use that microphone, I can use this for the audience.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Hello?
It should go on. Let's check.
Hello?
Oh.
No.
Joris, can we have some sound on this one? It is.
Hi?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. I'll check if there are questions from the audience. I have a few myself as well, but let's go to the audience first. Who's got a question for Borislava? She's got the money in the EU, so perhaps some questions popping up. Yeah. Please mention your name and the question.
Dick van Ginkel, TBI. I've got a question. You mentioned some new regulation regarding environmental footprint. Is that based on the new product environmental footprint system?
The construction materials regulation.
Yes, the PEF system. That are you referring to that?
I'm afraid you need to ask me that question. I need to look through some papers, and then I'm not an expert on it. So If you bear with me, I don't know the answer. It's not the farmer's footprint. I'm sorry.
Please find Borislava later on today. I think that's
Yeah,
easiest
the
then.
desk.
Yeah, good. Thanks for your question. It's nice. We're going in depth immediately. That's good. Other questions? Yeah, I get to you, Alexander. We don't need your name, but just a question.
Yeah, just question. Just a preposition, just to think. Maybe let's focus on Ukraine today. We have today an opportunity to test, implement, and realize any idea from a new European Bauhaus in Ukraine.
Yes, absolutely. I mentioned Alexander, our Shigeru Ban, who is convening people and already reflecting on reconstructing Ukraine. And believe it or not, we've been in touch with the faculty of Kiev, of architects. They moved recently to Lvov, and they've been on a conference call with us trying to figure out ways of doing something under the auspices of the initiative, but doing something long term, not just for the immediate urge of people leaving, but also for when people start coming back to Ukraine. So bear with us. We have a special group dedicated to that, and it's very important for commissioners and for President von der Leyen herself. Thank you.
Nice. Other questions? Yeah, I get to you. Your name and question? I forgot your name.
Nadège Mullier.
Yeah.
Hi. So jumping on what Alexander said, and it seems that really Active House also can play a huge role. And so is there a way that we can be involved in those discussions with the which are ongoing now? Because really we've got the knowledge with Alexander and all of our architects and engineers. We've got the basis with the principles that fit 100% with new European Bauhaus ideas. So
how to get involved?
How can we be involved now from the beginning?
Yes, good question. You'll be the future chair of... No, I'm confusing you. Anyhow,
Secretary General, but
yes,
yeah.
sorry. What you can do is propose the topic in that lab, in the collaborative space, and see how many other partners will say, yes, let's do something together for Ukraine. That's the first way of entering the topic. The second way, now I'm going to mention it obviously to the team that is dedicating convening discussions, so far only online with a few people. That Active House Alliance is interested. I know that they've been talking to Architectes Sans Frontières, Architectes des Urgences, several entities of architects that their specialty is recovery and resilience of buildings after they've been bombed, etc. So I will take note, but you can also involve other partners from these 450 people out there by introducing the topic Ukraine, rebuilding Ukraine, whatever, in the lab, and see how many people resonate with it and want to be active.
It's a good sign that they want to get involved, right? That's
super.
Perfect. Nice. Thanks a lot, Borislava Woodford. We don't let you go home empty-handed. It's a Dutch slogan for the Dutchies here. It says, niet lullen maar smullen. So, someone who wants to translate? It's a bit like stop babbling, start munching. It's a Dutch delicatesse. And if you meet Borislava today at her stand to ask about a project or money or technical details, perhaps you can get a stroopwafel as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vitas.
All right, 10 to 10. Yep, almost on schedule. We move to our next speaker. 1915 is the house, is the year of the house, the building here of the house he lives in. Who has an older house living in? Older house in 1915? A year? 1896. Who's going lower? 1730. Wow. And it is comfortable? No. Okay. Anyone lower than 1730? No. Okay. But 1915, he renovated most of it by himself with his own hands. So he's got the hands knowing how to do a renovation, but also the brains for it. For over 30 years, he is involved in research at the TU Delft, not far from here. And he's really focusing on housing quality and process innovation. That's also his professor title. He's also the director of Urban Energy Institute at the TU Delft. So he's an expert to share his knowledge about. We had the European scope from Borislava Woodford. Now we move into the Netherlands, housing in the Netherlands. It's Henk Visser.
Okay.
20 minutes, you've got a clock over there, which will start. It's now, yeah, perfect.
Okay, thank you very much for your introduction. And I'm very pleased that I can meet you all. I think you are really the technical specialists to know how to make our future homes, energy neutral or maybe positive and healthy and environmental friendly, and keeping Andrea really in the mind to be livable also. And that's very good. And I'm not that technical specialist, but I'm much more working on the challenges, say in the first place for our climate, to make our climate climate proof, our planet climate proof, 2050. And when you take this challenge really seriously, we have to look to our existing building stock and then especially focus on the housing stock. So that's a bit where I'm talking about today, and also then focus on the Netherlands. Well, I have a question to the audience yet, not for the Dutch people, but maybe you know Netherlands is a rather small country. We have 17 million people, inhabitants. We build about 50 to 70,000 new houses every year. What would you think, how many houses we would have to renovate every year to meet the challenges of 2050? Anybody a question? Not for Dutch people, because they read this in the newspapers every day. Nobody a clue? Say something. 500,000. Well, that's quite a lot. I think they calculated something like 200,000 per year on a high level. But if you compare it with what we achieve or what we try to achieve in building new buildings, that's still a huge number. So the huge capacity on the building industry, and it still has not yet really started. Okay, let's go to my slides. I work at the Faculty of Architecture of TU Delft. I think we're a high-standing university, and our Faculty of Architecture is really in the worldwide rankings in the top. So that's I'm very pleased, and a lot of architects, of course, are educated there. Well, you see here the numbers. To this year, TU Delft has its 180th anniversary, and the title of our theme for the lustrum is speeding up the energy transition. Yeah, this also stresses that also the university takes it as a very serious task. Now a little bit back to a personal thing. I was already introduced with my name. Last week we had a very nice activity. It's called Meet the Professors. All the professors in TU Delft were invited to go to a primary school and there teach a class something on their own subject. Yeah? So that was really a really nice thing. You know, in our togas, on the bicycle, really in the Dutch way, we went to to a class and the children were waiting there. They were very excited. You know, normally we don't wear these togas, only very special occasions. But then we could do it on the bike, in the wind and the rain. Nice challenge. And I was thinking like, okay, how shall I bring this message that we have to be careful with energy and we can do a lot in our houses? I didn't know what they knew and how they would be interested. And I thought I have to ask them a lot of questions to activate them. But in fact, when I was just standing there, all of them raised their hands like, I know something and I want to tell what we do in our house, and I know that it's a big challenge, and we save, we turn down the heating and pull-on pullovers, etc. So there, I was really surprised how much this theme of energy savings, climate-proof developments is really already in the mindset of all these children. So I think when we have to challenge our climate ambitions, it's more the older people, maybe ourselves. The younger are really already aware of this. But that was a very nice event. Okay, then the energy transition in the housing stock and focusing on that in the Netherlands. Just some numbers, but maybe you're already aware of this. So about worldwide, 40% of all the energy, final energy use is in the built environment, in the buildings. And 75% of it is housing. Yeah? So housing is really a big part of it. In Europe and in the Netherlands, the new housing production, as I said, is relatively small compared to the existing stock. So if we put all our ambitions in the new buildings, then it's not going to speed up. Huh? That's just too little. Only 1% of all yearly is added to the stock. And then face the challenges that we agreed upon. 1.5 centigrade heating up of the planet. IPCC came with a new report last week. We really have to do as fast as possible, of course, everything that can be done. Europe said, like in 2030, we already have to go down to 55% compared to 1990. And in 2050, it has to be nearly zero. And then take into account that 70% of the current stock, building stock, housing stock of 2050 is the existing stock of today. Yeah? So that is where we have to focus on. Deep renovation is needed. And that's, again, the number that I told you before here, what we have to achieve in the Netherlands. Well, here you see an average overview of what we have in the Netherlands. In fact, what you see here in the middle, that's the type of housing we have most of. And a lot of them were built in the 1960s, 70s, 80s. Actually, I was born and raised in the middle house of this. It was built in 1962. I was also built in 1962, yeah, I think. I was born in 1962, probably also built in 1962. And I lived there 20 years. And I saw the energy development around me. I come from the north in the Netherlands. I will say something about that also later again. In this house, actually there was a coal stove when it was built in 1962. But just a few years later, all the coal stoves moved away because we had natural gas in the Netherlands, especially in this area. And of course, this is now a big problem. So I go back to that again. The Dutch housing stock, well, here you see an overview over when most of the stock was built. Also the owner type, which is also very important. In the Netherlands, we have a lot of owner-occupied, but what is quite typical for the Netherlands that we also have a very large share owned by housing associations. Yeah, so this is social housing, but also a little bit for middle-class levels. Compared to other countries, social housing is a wider definition, but they have a big share of the stock, and they also have good opportunities to organize renovation programs, although, of course, they have to take care that the rents don't increase that too much, because they have to take care of their Andreas. Huh? Looking to the building stock, well, maybe this is also quite familiar for you. In 1973, we had an oil crisis in the Netherlands, because we were not so friendly to the Arab countries. Something like what is happening with Russia now, of course. But then first thinking started like maybe it's not endless. Huh? But there were no regulations at that time, and still a lot of stock was built without any building regulations. Actually, in 1980, it started just with some insulation regulations. In 1995, energy performance regulations were in place, and then step by step increased a lot. But if you look to the existing stock and when things were built, and the part of the stock that will meet what we want to achieve in 2050, is only maybe what was built after 1995. That's just a very small part of it. Well, I'm not going to explain this in detail. But yeah, how to reduce the CO2 emissions, this is also not new for you. I think that we all have to be aware that most of it can be achieved by reducing the energy demand. And especially in West Northern Europe, it is energy for heating. That's really the biggest chunk. So we have to insulate our buildings. And of course, this is very costly, difficult processes, etc. Then, of course, we have to change to renewable energy production, PV, solar heat also, and geothermal heat. It's just getting off now, but that's also more developed. We also have to change the heating systems in the buildings to more efficient, so low temperature heating systems. In the Netherlands, we also want to develop more district heating, and then of course district heating with sustainable heat near to power plants, waste burning systems, etc. We also want to work more on heat storage in the soil, or in the, how to say it, in the bottom. And then, of course, also reduce embodied carbon in the material use, circular building, and reduce emissions also in the building process. Also, that is part of what we want to innovate. Having a look at the Dutch policies, of course, these were developed through the decades, step by step, more increased. And I think in 2018, we had a nice new standard, new agreement, what's called the climate agreement. It was steered by the government, but also with involvement of all stakeholders, of all sectors. So it's about agriculture, it's about industry, and it's also about built environment. So there, more concrete, clear agreements were made, and also pathways of how to achieve the goals. Agreements on regulations, on measures, on programs, etc. Also, more or less at that same time, it became more important for the Netherlands to speed up this energy transition in the built environment. I mentioned before, we had in the 1960s natural gas in the Netherlands, in the north of the Netherlands, Groningen. But some years ago, maybe 10 years ago, for the first time, there we had earthquakes. Not very severe, but when buildings were not constructed based on the idea that the earth could shake, you see that a lot of buildings got cracks, and it felt a lot of unsafety among the people. So this had a huge effect on the Dutch policies, because they said we have to phase out natural gas as quickly as possible. And of course, now with the bad situation in Ukraine, everybody's also looking like, where do we get our energy resources from? A lot come from Russia. So that's again a reason, of course, to speed up things. And now you also see the energy prices rising, and that makes it easier now to get everybody involved in thinking of how we can do this. But renovating an existing stock has a huge challenges. You probably all know. I mean, when you want to build something new, of course, that's also a challenge. But if you renovate something, there's so many stakeholders involved. In first place, the building owners, they have to want to do it. They also need a lot of financial resources. It's very, very costly. And there's also some uncertainty, because people want to know, like, what will be the future? If I invest 50,000, 70,000 euros in a house, is it then something that will be kind of future-proof? In the Netherlands, we have development for more district heating development. That would be, if it comes to your neighborhood, you can adapt to that. But if you're not sure about it, then it's a bit difficult now already to change completely to an all-electric system. So there is kind of uncertainty. We want to know as fast as possible what can we do, where, and what would be the most, the best way to go for. The process is very complex, and the capacity in the building industry, that's going to be a big problem. I told you that the challenges for renovation comes on top of what's already happening for new construction, and we simply don't have enough people to do the work. So there's also an idea that we have to more go to industrialization, automation, etc. Prefab building elements that's going to be constructed on the building site. Okay, now I say, because we have a few more minutes left, something about insights we have from our research. I was introduced also to be a director of the Urban Energy Institute in Delft. That is a collaboration among 6 different faculties, and we challenge many of the questions with our research and also implement it in education. I'm not going to explain this all in detail, but you can imagine it goes from PV development to geothermal and new processes for renovation, etc. And we also have a very nice site in Delft on the campus. It's called the Green Village, where really, it's kind of experimental area, where buildings are built with maybe hydrogen systems to try out how it will be, and a lot of other things. I'm going to skip this. A lot of projects. What I just show you very quickly a few PhD projects where we deepen out insights in what is happening in the building stock. So we have a lot of data to see what the housing associations do and how they implement. Here you see the labels, how they develop over the years. So you see from year to year that something is increasing, but also we made explorations and we found out that if this is the pathway for the future, it's going far too slow and we're never going to reach the level. So this brings insight in, policies have to really change dramatically. This is a similar research. And also what we did is, we know the energy labels are mainly based on theoretical calculations on the building level. But when the Andreas come to live in their house, it might change completely. Because people are in the house or they're not in the house, they turn on the systems or they turn it off. So theoretical energy use, calculated energy use, energy demand might differ very much from real energy use. And we were able to compare it with a lot of data. And I don't know if you quickly can see what's happening here. The actual energy for a G label, so the worst, the buildings that really have to be renovated. In practice, for heating, only half of the energy use is used on average compared to what we calculate. So, and also in the newer buildings, real energy use is a bit bigger. So at that end, you can conclude that it's mainly due to, well, the designs are not optimum, the construction makes faults, and also a bit on behavior. On the other side, you can see, well, this is really much on behavior, because people don't heat rooms where they don't use, while in the energy demand we calculated it. So if you take this as a potential saving, the theoretical ones, then you would calculate that you have much energy to save if you're going to insulate. But in practice, it might be different. Of course, comfort level increases, but these are very good insights to see like what is happening actually in the existing building stock. So these were my slides. So thank you for your attention. I don't know if you have questions. By the way, this is my own rooftop, and there is the Faculty of Architecture in the background.
You don't even need your bicycle.
No.
Perfect. You mentioned 200,000 houses per year need to be renovated, right?
Yeah.
You had a slide with the challenges. Is it possible to pinpoint what is the biggest challenge from your perspective?
It's a combination. Of course, it's very costly. Now, it still is. It's not one is the biggest.
It's not possible to say.
There are. It's multiple. The decision, the uncertainty, what will happen in the future with the energy system in your neighborhood, has to be clarified, because then you know the starting point. Costs have to be reduced. The building industry, has to create more capacity.
Mm-hmm. The people perspective, yeah.
Yeah, the people, but also what can the construction industry deliver quickly? I mean, when you want to make an appointment with a contractor nowadays to do something on your house, you might have to wait half a year, or, and that's within the current pace of renovation, which is far too low. Yeah. So that's also a huge challenge.
Okay.
Now,
questions from the audience. Who has a question for Henk Visser? Yes, I go to you at the back. You raise your hand as well, right? Yeah, your name and question.
My name is Yves Lambert. I have a question. You talked a lot about heating, but I have the impression with the climate change that the winter problem is becoming a summer problem. What about overheating and cooling?
Sure. Yeah, of course, that has to do with how you redesign the houses. Of course, we should not shift from one problem to the other. That is a challenge, of course, and that's very much, I think, a design and an installation optimization problem. So far in the Netherlands, we hardly don't use any cooling, but if you have the house not designed in the right way, you probably need it when you close everything off and still have big windows on the south. In the high-end renovated buildings, that sometimes is also a problem.
Do you see it increasing, the amount of cooling in the Netherlands for the summer period?
Well, I don't have it in numbers, but
I hear a yes here.
Yes. Yeah, I'm interested in overheating of buildings, and exactly summer problems is becoming in Netherlands more important than winter.
Yeah, but then still, in terms of energy savings, CO2 savings, we first have already made then a big step in these houses in reducing the energy needed for heating. And of course, for the Andrea, and another problem increases. Yeah.
Okay. Your name and question, please.
Yeah. My name is Christops. I was wondering what you mean by deep renovation, because as well you showed the energy kind of consumption and savings, potential savings in different labels. And okay, I understand that in Netherlands the existing building stock is kind of old but not listed, so it's not protected. It could be renovated with isolation. How about those buildings that are kind of considered as historical value in a way? What you would recommend to do with those?
Yeah, there is of course a difference, and indeed, like you say, like the big proportion can be renovated even with new facades, etc. No problem. But of course, there's a part in the older towns that have more challenges to really change on a high level, and maybe we have to accept that not on every building we'll achieve the goals. Sometimes maybe there are possibilities making more use of district heating. Then you don't have to insulate on the highest level and insulate in the inside. But maybe on some parts, we won't meet the highest levels. But the biggest part of the existing stock can be really changed.
Other questions? Yeah. Do you live in a monument yourself? Is that a monument like 1915?
It's not a monument,
No?
but I insulate it on the inside. I
Ah.
have stone, no cavity wall, so only inside insulation.
Yeah.
Thin double glazing. It's not optimal.
But it works, so to say. Okay, your name and question.
Hi, Dennis Houwer. Well, maybe not directly a question, but more in the discussion which was just. Also, when we follow the steps of the Trias Energetica, is first about lowering the need. So talk about isolation on the inside or the outside, but there's also more if you talk about monuments or more older characteristic buildings, for instance, like the Groene Grachten, which was founded by Wubbe Ockels in the past. They have a bit of a different approach where they're saying, well, maybe we can activate the building more by, for instance, active heating of walls, or which is more a solution to monuments. How do you look to those kinds of principles?
Yeah, well, I think it's needed to find other solutions for typical buildings that we can approach with the easiest way. You have to find new ways, and I think there's still a lot of innovations going on, and probably also will bring new solutions in 5 to 10 years.
If you could name one innovation that you see now happening, which is hopeful, could you name one?
Well, I think also on the heat pump technology, that they're working very much to make them cheaper, more silent, more small, and also heat pumps that provide heat on a mid-temperature level.
So not low temperature, but mid-temperature then?
Yeah, so you can still use the normal radiators in the existing, and maybe also you don't need to do, when these systems can provide some heat on well, you're all technicians, on 50 degrees, then you can already with a conventional gas boiler try out if that is possible, because you can change, it can reduce the settings. When 55 degrees is giving enough comfort, then maybe there's not too big step to change to a kind of new technology for heat pumps.
So the choice for Andrea becomes easier, that's what you're saying, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So
okay.
so probably also in the future there will be more middle adapted solutions, so that we don't have to go for the whole stock to this high-end insulation. Yeah.
Question.
Yes, if I may. We always joke in our team that the most sustainable building is the one that's never been built. So basically renovating existing stock is key and crucial. But then I listened to your presentation, you mentioned at the end increase capacity of the building stock, so build more. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma. I tell you why. I have a 17-year-old son who wants to study at the University of Tilburg. He wants to do economics in a year time. And he already knows he's going to have problems finding where to stay. Rentals, dorms for students, it's a problem in the Netherlands. So I don't know if it's a question, but what causes this shortage? And has the Netherlands considered changing rules and regulations in terms of allowing people to rent? And I'm just curious. I'm sure a lot of people will probably ask you the same question, but a bit of a personal touch. Thank you.
Like everybody's asking you for EU money, everybody is asking Henk for a place to stay. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I have some rooms in my house, but I also have 3 daughters, a little bit older, but they are still studying, have a study house, a room in a flat. But when they're finished, I think the prospects are very difficult, because the prices are high, availability is low. There are huge programs to speed up building new homes. But also a thing that causes a problem, I think, is that and that's also an environmental problem, is that on average, people use more indoor space. I mean, the average size of square meters that we use in houses.
It's increasing.
It's increasing immediately, enormously.
Isn't that a bit weird?
Yeah, well, we start with a family and want to have a big house, and the people move out, and the people stay single behind in a huge house.
Please raise your hand if your house is a little bit too big. Be honest with yourself. Yeah, there are some people. So we can create some room. If you live in Tilburg, please go to Borislava, and otherwise we find some other solution. Okay, regarding time, I think we're all up for some coffee or tea, right? So I will give some stroopwafels to Henk as well. Thanks a lot, Henk. And we'll be back at 10 to 11, but Bas is going to make a short note as well.
I have a short, unscripted surprise. Today is actually my birthday, so there will be cake. There will be cake and pie at the coffee break.
That's wonderful. Do we? Maybe it's a nice moment to have a short song together for Bas, right? Just really briefly, a few sentences. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bas. Happy birthday to you. In Dutch, we will leave that for later today. Okay, 10 to 11, we'll be back here. Enjoy the coffee and tea, and van harte gefeliciteerd.
Okay.